Hey, what's up, guys? I have been entertaining the idea of a podcast for a while now, and I'm actually going to do some practice episodes. I'm doing them on TikTok, and I'm mostly just trying to practice and see if I'm actually any good at it. Kind of decided I'm not that good at it, but some things get better with practice, right? Anyway, I did the first practice podcast on TikTok Live, and I downloaded it, and I'm going to upload it here for you guys. Criticism, feedback, whatever you guys want to give. I definitely know I can improve on stuff. But the topic was pond, fish, and I did it with my lovely girlfriend Jen. So enjoy.
Yeah, so I thought we talked about the pond a bit.
You did? That sounds like
Yeah.
an excellent podcast topic.
Yeah. Especially since you've been putting fish in it lately, so I think we get
Right?
into it. Yeah.
I would think
So
so.
where is the pond on the property?
That is an excellent question. The pond is down near my stream, which is 300 feet lower in elevation and about 700 yards that way. So it's a ways away.
So like back behind the outdoor kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly
But
where
you
it is.
can't but you can't see it because it's so far down. Can you see it in the wintertime when the leaves are clear?
um, yeah, you can in the right spot. You definitely can.
That's cool. What made you decide to put a pond in?
So I decided to put a pond in when I basically wanted a backup source of water. I also wanted fish. I always thought fish would be awesome. I used to have an aquarium, and I wanted fish to have as a food source, and I wanted backup water. That's essentially the main reasons why, and I just wanted it.
Backup water. You have huge rainwater collection. What
I do.
backup water? How are you going to get water from the pond up to the homestead?
So basically, with it being as far as it is, I didn't want to run a pipe, particularly in wintertime if I would need it because stuff would freeze. So basically, it was going to be an ATV, a cart, and buckets of water. And I actually did that one time from down there for animal water. It was actually before the pond, but the creek was flowing at the time. So yeah, it was going to be trading gasoline for water essentially.
This next question might surprise some people. A lot of people probably don't know that you actually have a well on your property, and that well happens to be down by the pond. So why not the well, Nate?
Why not the well? Basically, I would, yeah. It basically gets surface water in it. It's a shallow well. It's dug down there. It's essentially like a tiny pond, if you will, that's just straight down about 15, 16 feet. Um, it's really not yeah, it's not the
It
greatest
wasn't going to be
well. It's
enough.
just a shallow well. No, it wouldn't be enough. Again, against it gets surface water in it, and it's only a shallow well, and it's not in an ideal location anyway.
All right, all right. Um, I remember when you had the pond dug and reading all the comments and watching as that all got finished up, and everybody was freaking out, and they were telling you your pond was never ever going to hold water, and it's held water since that day. Never had a
Uh,
problem with it. Um, what did you think of that?
well, I knew it was gonna hold water. I mean, I didn't know for sure, but like as they were digging and I saw what the clay was, yeah, it was quite obvious. And most of the commenters and duets and stitches, like it went really far and wide, were from people out of state dealing with sandy soil and everything else, and they were just totally unfamiliar with what West Virginia clay is actually like. And yeah, there was no concern after I saw the way it was dug out and the spring flowing into it and it already puddling up before they were done digging. I was like, yeah, this'll hold water.
So spring does flow into it. It's got a freshwater intake.
It has a freshwater intake. It does. One of the one of the things I was hoping for was a freshwater intake, and it's a seasonal spring, so not always, but yes, it most definitely does.
And we noticed this year, this is the third year for it. This was the third season, right, for the pond. You had it dug, and then there was last year, and then this was the
Yeah,
third
I
season
I think we're
for it.
basically entering into the the third
And the
season.
ecosystem that has started in that pond is absolutely amazing. The frogs. This year we had what, salamanders or newts or something in there.
We did. Yep. You got to
Always,
see them
always,
firsthand.
yeah, always tadpoles. Like, yeah, it's a very healthy pond. Um, with as healthy as it is, feeding your friend Mark the tree, why was everybody afraid he was going to die? And is he okay?
So the pond was dug once initially, about 4 feet deep, and then the weather was not compatible with going any further. So the next year, about the same time, it was dug to 8 feet deep, and we cut into Mark's roots, who was at the time just a tree, but he is a sugar maple tree. He loves the water, and he's very resilient, particularly down there. And yeah, that I have no doubts he'll be just fine. Now, if it was an oak tree or something, I think he would have all sorts of issues. But yeah,
Very cool. Very cool. So, this year you had the pond dug a little bit deeper. Was there a reason you wanted it deeper? Why didn't you dig it deeper the first when you had it originally done?
though it was pretty much the weather and limits on machinery to not go deeper the first time. It was dug the second time by the same people, and I wanted it deeper because fish in the wintertime need to be able to go down to warmer water to survive, and maybe 4 feet would have been enough. 8 feet in this area will definitely be enough.
Cool. Um, and then the most recent thing we've seen with the pond is you finally got to put fish in it. Everybody has been waiting for you to put fish in this pond.
They have been waiting for the
How?
fish.
Where did you get fish? What are you putting in it?
So basically, I got fish from a local that has fish. I tried numerous times to get companies to respond to me and come out with, and sell me fish essentially. I was even offering to buy, and it was just taking so much time. And somebody was just like, "Well, I've got fish I can get to you." And so that's just what happened. Got 2 rounds of fish so far. That's probably going to be it for the fall, and I may restock it in the spring.
And do you plan to fish these fish?
I do plan to fish these fish. I think they have to grow a little bigger first, but yes, most definitely. I'm hoping I can find somebody to teach me how to fish because my fishing success has been absolutely terrible.
I can teach you how to fish. I have been fishing since I don't know, I can't even remember. I've probably been fishing since before my memory. Um, if my mom was going to the mall and my dad was going to the water to fish, I went with my dad. I wanted to sit on the rocks and play with the night crawlers. I got to rip them in half so that, I mean, most people don't use a whole night crawler. Um, but yeah, I can bait your hook, show you how to cast, teach you how to reel them in. Bluegill are an absolute blast to fish for, especially in clear waters. We'll have to clear that pond up a little bit so you can see them, but
Right.
yep,
That's
I'll teach
that's
you how to fish.
definitely a very common question is, will the pond ever clear up? And be like, it's still like a farm pond in West Virginia clay with water runoff, so it'll definitely be somewhat murky most of the time, probably.
Do you plan to put anything in it that's going to keep the water moving? Any kind of a fountain or something to just kind of like keep it going, keep
I
movement in
want
it, or do you
I
think it's
want
gonna
to
be
put
fine?
some kind of I do want to put some kind of aerator in there. It's kind of one of those things where like fish became available and I threw them in there and I need to do rocks and shelves for breeding areas along with other essentially debris I'm going to put in there, and I do want to do some kind of solar aerator pump something.
Okay. A lot of people also in your comments were, when you first put the fish in, were suggesting that you feed them through the winter. Is that something that you're doing?
I'm going to feed them. Yeah, it's hopefully established enough that I wouldn't have to, but I'm going to at least supplement the food that I think that's in there with some fish food with 32% protein or something like that.
Cool. Well, sounds like your pond is getting to the point where you're going to be able to finally get some fish out of it and enjoy
Yep.
it a bit.
It's definitely been a long process, but I kind of knew like we still have to wait for the fish to grow up, right? So like
Sure,
they're
sure.
gonna have to grow and mature, and I still have to learn a lot about how like obviously you can overstock a pond and have a bunch of tiny fish in there that never grow larger, and like so I know some of the basics, but I have to implement something that makes us have good fishable fish.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Looking forward to it. Well, I've got some questions that came through while we were chatting.
Uh,
Um, except for they're on Discord, and you know how I am with that. Hold on a second. I just had it open, and then I went to a page, and I don't know how to go back. Oh no. Oh shoot. I still don't know how to go. Oh, escape. There we go. That does it. All right.
all right. Thanks for your questions, guys. We weren't monitoring the questions, but we do have some that someone else has written down
Yep.
for.
So the Salt Life 68 asked, "What type of fish did you put in the pond?" Did we cover that? Did you mention?
I think you asked that, and I think I did not answer. Um, Bass, bluegill, and a couple chub.
And I think chubs are mainly bait fish. I think that's what I've always seen them used for. Um, is there any way that you can make if you had used the pond water for drinking water, could you make that drinkable for us? And how would you do it?
I would build a home built sand filter and do that first, and then probably just keep. It's definitely not ideal for drinking. It would be much better to pull out of the creek there, which is fed
That'd
with a
be
spring.
pretty much
Um,
emergency use only.
yeah, it's pretty much emergency use only. Like it'd be fine for livestock and some of that stuff, but yeah, it would not be my first choice for backup water for drinking.
That question came from Dawson. Thanks, Dawson.
Thanks.
Bondo Killer asked, "Will you be able to catch and eat the fish from your pond?" And we did answer that. Yes, we will over time. Once we have more fish and they're big enough for us to actually fish.
Right.
Willie D asked, "How are you keeping the pond oxygenated?"
Pretty much not doing anything actively for that. I'm hoping just the whole natural cycle of everything down there makes it work out good. There is nothing to, no bubblers, no, which I want to add, but there's a lot of people around here with ponds similar to this, even shallower ponds, and it ends up they have fish and they fish out of it. So I think I'll be okay, but I'd like to add just give myself an advantage if possible.
So do you plan on planting any like special vegetation in the pond that'll help with all of that? Or
I
just letting nature kind of do its thing?
I do want to add some underwater plants, possibly even some other creatures that would help out. I need to research more on that, but most definitely, um, yeah, I want to add vegetation. I'm a big fan of plants and a whole natural, self-contained ecosystem that I think the pond can be.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool at some point to go down there and like put a cool little sitting area and like I don't know, somewhere just kind of chill by the pond.
Right. It
I
would.
you, you can't do anything with the low area where all the animals come in though, because I love to print track over there. I'm always
Right.
down there. Nate and I go down to the pond, and I'm always over in that area, like bent down, like looking and pointing. And ooh, what do you think that was? And look at the size of this deer, and look at the size of that deer. And oh, this was a raccoon. And I'm forever looking at the prints. I'm gonna find something interesting one day.
Well, we did find those
There was some kind of
large
cat print, but we don't know
bobcat.
what it was.
No, it
I don't
probably
know what it
was a
was.
large bobcat,
It
probably.
probably was. It probably was.
But
Yeah. What's funny is I'm surprised we don't see more coyote prints because this sounds like that's where they're howling from all the time.
it
Sounds like
does,
they're just right down there at the pond, and then I don't see any dog prints like that. Just little minion ones.
right? Yep.
Um, We talked about cleaning the pond and kind of clearing it up, right? You already kind of covered that.
We
Uh,
did.
does the pond have a name?
It does not have a name. However, the tree that's in the pond that everybody said was going to die is named Mark. That is the only thing currently named down there.
So no, the pond does not have a name yet, guys, and that's probably only because TikTok hasn't actually seen the pond live. Seems like
Yep,
anything on the homestead that's live gets a name.
that's right. And if I could at all get internet down there and power to power that internet, I would most definitely put it on live. That's a logistical difficulty, to say the
And if you
least.
if you guys in the chat have not seen Mark or are not familiar with Mark, you need to search Nate's name, Mark the Tree, and go see. If you question if he has googly eyes, he has his own face. Mark is pretty cool.
He does. There's a hashtag Mark the Tree you guys can look up. Between that and the pond won't hold water, those were two big controversies that I never anticipated. I never anticipated so many people would say the pond wouldn't hold water, and never anticipated so many people would say the tree was going to die. But so far, like, all of that has not come to pass, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
And
one of
then
my
the
favorite
final,
running jokes on this thing.
go ahead. Final
I
question
was at
was,
all of these
do you know
things.
if you have snails in your pond? Oh,
I
we
do
did
not
good till
know if I
then.
have snails in my pond. I have not
Oh,
seen.
I don't honestly remember seeing snails down there,
Yep, don't either.
but I don't know. What do the newts eat? Would they eat snails?
Probably if they were small enough. I'm not really sure what their main source of food would actually be.
Yeah, I
I
don't know
don't
either.
know.
I don't know all about that. All I know is, wow, there's a lot of life in that pond in the spring. Holy cow.
Right?
Holy cow.
Yep.
Well, that was fun talking about the pond. I enjoyed that.
That was. Thanks
Thanks for
everybody for
hanging with us,
tuning
guys.
in to the very first practice podcast of something that we will hopefully get far better at, but we just have to jump into it and practice a couple times first.